Welcome, travelers. Come on in, draw a little closer to the fire. Let the cold winds howl outside and just settle in. Today we're doing something a bit different for this explainer. I'm going to guide you through the incredibly rich, deeply complex lore of an ancient world, and we're looking at it through the lens of a classic campfire tale. To really grasp the history, the bitter conflicts, and that creeping existential dread woven into the very fabric of Tamriel, we can't just look at facts. We have to experience the source material as a living, breathing legend. So warm your hands, listen closely, and let's dive into the legendary province of the Nords.
Haranu Kaluad Wadam Bookling Ravad. Hearken now, sons of snow, to an age long ago. Just listen to those words for a second. This ancient bardic translation has been passed down through generations of Nords, and you can literally feel the sorrowful weight it carries. It speaks of an age long past. But the echoes of that time, they absolutely define the struggles of the present day. It's the perfect way to immerse us in the mythic atmosphere we're exploring. It's a stark reminder that in this world, history isn't just stuffed in dusty books. It's sung in taverns, it's carved deep into standing stones, and it breathes down from the very mountaintops.
Section 1. The Divide of Skyrim.
Now, to really understand this myth, we've got to look at the grim reality of the present. Exactly 200 years have passed since the terrifying Oblivion Crisis, and honestly, the Empire has been in a slow, painful decline ever since. Today, Skyrim, the ancient, frozen home of the Nords, is teetering right on the absolute brink of destruction. High King Torygg is dead, and his death left a massive vacuum that has shattered the province into a brutal, bloody civil war. Just look at this map of Eastmarch, which is one of the 9 distinct holds. Notice how the cartographers use these incredibly treacherous, jagged mountains and those freezing, winding rivers to define the borders? The landscape of Skyrim is inherently harsh, and it literally divides the land. This geography physically separates the warring holds, creating these isolated pockets of distinct cultures and fierce loyalties. It's the kind of place where navigating the physical obstacles is just as deadly as navigating the political ones.
So, you might be wondering, what's actually tearing these holds apart? Well, it's a clash of two deeply held, entirely valid ideologies that tragically results in brothers slaying brothers out there on the frozen tundra. On one side, you have the Stormcloaks, led by Jarl Ulfric Stormcloak. They're a fierce rebellion seeking outright secession from a weakened empire so they can reclaim their religious freedom and autonomy. And then, on the flip side, we have the Imperials. These are loyalists who firmly believe that the unity, established law, and security provided by the Empire are literally the only things keeping the entire continent from collapsing in on itself. Both sides are absolutely convinced they're fighting for the survival of their home. But this civil war, it's blinding them to what's really coming.
Section 2. The Return of Alduin.
Because here's the thing. While the armies clash and the politicians scheme, a true existential threat has arrived. That political war, it's just a distraction. The ancient texts didn't merely sing about heroes, they warned of Tamriel's primeval darkness. The dragons have returned. Take a look at these strange circular mounds dotted all across the fells, the forests, and the snow lines of Skyrim, usually surrounded by a scattering of ancient standing stones. For centuries, people walked right past these mounds, figuring they were just ancient Nordic ruins. Well, they aren't. These are dragon burial mounds, the final resting places of legendary beasts slain centuries ago. And guess what? They are no longer quiet.
The ancient texts actually outline 4 distinct, terrifying stages for these mounds as this absolute nightmare scenario unfolds. First, they're dormant, covered in dirt, super easy to mistake for a regular hill. But then, as the world eater Alduin, a terror straight out of the oldest legends, travels across the holds, things change. You might find a mound deserted, which means Alduin was already there, the grave is open, and a resurrected dragon is now loose. Or you might find it awakened, where the reborn dragon is still hanging around, gathering its strength. But the most horrifying part, that would be the final stage.
And that final stage is resurrection. Imagine standing on a hill and watching a massive, black dragon hovering over a burial mound. Alduin unleashes this guttural, earth-shaking roar in the ancient dragon tongue, his Thu'um, and boom, the mound bursts open. A massive skeletal dragon, Solaknir, begins to emerge from his deadly slumber. You'd just be watching, completely paralyzed, as Alduin's shout literally weaves ethereal flesh and scaly skin right back onto those ancient bones. It's a literal nightmare brought back to life right before your very eyes.
Section 3. Prophecy. The Last Dragonborn.
Now, with this primeval darkness swallowing the skies, a mortal prophecy is finally triggered. The Elder Scrolls themselves speak of one solitary hope, the Dovahkiin, a mortal born with the very soul of a dragon. It's not just a cool title, it's a heavy destiny to stand against the dark reign of the consumer of worlds. But to really get the last Dragonborn's burden, let's look at the flow of time here. Back in the Mythic era, the ancient Nord heroes couldn't actually kill Alduin. Instead, they used an Elder Scroll at the summit of the throat of the world to create a time wound and basically banish him forward in time. So they didn't solve the problem, right? They just kicked the can down the road. Then, 200 years ago, the Oblivion Crisis ends, leaving the Empire severely weakened. That leads us right to the present. The High King dies, the Civil War completely shatters the province's defenses, and at our absolute most vulnerable moment, today, Alduin pops right out of that time wound. Those ancient heroes merely postponed Alduin's terror to this exact moment.
Section 4. The Dark Past, Miraak.
Okay, let's dive into a really dark secret here. Being born with the soul of a dragon definitely does not guarantee you'll be a savior. To understand the true peril of the Dovahkiin, we have to look at the tragic, totally corrupted history of the very first mortal to ever bear that title. This part of our tale takes us far off the coast of Skyrim, all the way to the ash-covered island of Solstheim. Just look at Tel Mithrin. You can practically feel the creeping terror, can't you? On this island, long-forgotten tombs and sacred stones are resonating with this dark, ancient magic. The whole place is being suffocated by the machinations of someone who's been waiting in the shadows for thousands of years.
His name is Miraak, the first Dragonborn. His destiny in the Mythic era was exactly the same as ours today, to defeat Alduin. But instead, he chose heresy. He allowed himself to be seduced by the Daedric prince Hermaeus Mora. Miraak used his unique abilities not to save the world, but to gather a cult, siphon the power of the island's Allmaker stones, and literally enslave its inhabitants. He chose the seduction of absolute power over his heroic duty. Miraak's dark past is a terrifying mirror for us, a stark warning of just how easily a destined hero can twist into a tyrant.
Section 5. The Destiny of a Hero. And that brings our legend right back to the present moment. The fate of Tamriel doesn't rest on massive armies or powerful emperors anymore. It rests on a single individual navigating an impossible web of ancient magic, dark temptations, and political ruin. The sheer scale of the journey ahead is honestly staggering. To even stand a chance, the Dragonborn has to climb the highest mountain to learn the ancient draconic arts from the revered, deeply reclusive Greybeards at High Hrothgar. They've got to ally with the scattered remnants of the Blades, the kingdom's shadow guardians. They'll have to constantly dodge and navigate the interference of crafty Thalmor spies trying to advance their own dominance amidst all this chaos, and ultimately, they have to use all these fragile, fragmented alliances to confront the World Eater himself. And so, as our campfire dies down, we're left with an ultimate question of choice. The world is breaking, the dragons are burning the skies, and the first of your kind failed spectacularly. Will the last Dragonborn take up blade, spell, and tomb to fulfill their destiny and save Tamriel? Or will they falter, get lost in the chaos, and just postpone the world's salvation indefinitely? The legend is written, but the ending? Well, that is yet to be decided. Thank you for joining me around the fire for today's explainer. Until next time, keep seeking the truth in the lore.